adjourn this meeting and keep us ever mindful of why we're here. Lord, we thank you for this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Chairman Dan Craig.
Here.
Vice Chairman Shearer. Absent. Board Member Duffer.
Present.
Board Member Lambert. Absent. Board Member Thomas.
Here.
Board Member Olson. Absent. Board Member Studeville.
Here.
Board Member Dan Moore.
Here.
Board Member Kathy Moore. Absent. Okay.
Huh?
Who's Kathy?
It's our new.
VDA.
Oh, okay. Are y'all related?
Unless she's from Central Texas.
From where? Temple?
Central part of Texas, Comanche County, that part of the world.
You said you wanted to speak, why don't you?
I'll cut it down to 2 minutes, how's that?
Whatever, you got the floor.
I'm Rick Rumsey, the interim city manager. One of the things I'm doing before our new city manager comes on, I'm looking at our committees and wanting to make some change. The one thing I want to tell you, the city's gonna start using the committees differently. We need advice. You're an advisory committee, and y'all know that airport. So, we're gonna change the way we're doing business. When we have something going on out there, we're gonna bring it to this board. And the council's gonna look at this board for a recommendation or not a recommendation. Does that make sense? And I've talked to the mayor, he's very open to it. That's what an advisory committee is. You're to
Well, it
help
should be.
advise the city on the airport. And so you're gonna see that change. And the second thing I would like to do, but I want y'all's support, you're the airport advisory committee. Y'all will be meeting at the airport. You shouldn't have to drive into City Hall. I know you would enjoy that, wouldn't you? It frees up my staff, but it's also, you're out there at the airport where you need to be. So I'd like some feedback from the members of what you think about that.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
We used to meet at the airport and we were told that due to support, we would no longer meet there.
There's no reason.
I think it's a great idea.
Airport okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next meeting will be at the airport. What that's gonna require, detailed minutes, and Josh has come up with some, we're gonna record them. And then that way we can do the minutes properly. Other than that, that's where you should be. I've done the same thing with the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. Sorry about that. But I'd come into their meeting, and I'd be the only person out here. And the people they're representing out there, senior citizen, and I asked them, and they loved it out there. So I feel it all be the same way there. So if y'all's fine with it, the next meeting, we'll start having them at there.
All right. Good deal.
Put that in an email to everybody.
Okay, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
I didn't
Nice
time
meeting.
you, so I assume you were okay.
Do I?
I didn't time you, so I assume
I
you're
might
okay.
have went over it. I gotta go to HR now. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. It's good
Thanks,
seeing
Rick.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Consideration approval of the minutes of the February 7th meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Made a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Can we just say aye, or do you won't have to call the roll?
Let me go ahead and call roll so I can get it marked here. So Chairman Craig,
Aye.
Board Member Duffer,
Aye.
Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Studeville,
Aye.
Board Member Moore,
Aye.
Motion approved. Consider items removed from consent. We didn't have any. Information items, airport director's monthly report. Go for it.
All right.
That's my
Good
favorite-
afternoon, gentlemen.
my favorite part.
Hope you all have had a great month since our last meeting. I know February was a pretty good month for the airport. Kinda wanna chalk that up to the, unusual warm weather we had during February. Last year during February, we had a few days out there where we were iced up, couldn't function on the runway, stuff like that. This year, didn't really have that in the issue, so, saw a little bit of traffic at the airport, a little bit more than we saw last year. Vertower reported our operations at 4,511 for the month of February. And then, I did break down the, fuel numbers, but if you gentlemen don't mind, I'd like to get into our updates really quick, just because there's a relatively big one in there that I'd like to get some advice and thoughts from the board on. That's going to be the, very last paragraph. I should have put it first, I know, but when writing this up, I was kind of going with how my notes were. The last paragraph says, as you know, April 8th is going to be a solar eclipse around our area. As of right now, per the projections I'm seeing, Durant's scheduled to be, I believe it's 99.8% coverage for this eclipse. I've had a lot of meetings with emergency management and stuff like that. And while I was at the Southwest Partnership Conference in Hearst, Texas last week, I met with quite a few airport directors and city government officials and stuff like that from surrounding communities, discussing ways that airports were going to be handling a possible influx of aircraft. What I've put together is we are going to be looking at issuing a PPR NOTAM, a prior permission required NOTAM. We'll issue the phone number with that, as well as a online form. We are currently putting all that information together right now to get something out there that anybody interested in flying into Durant will need to go on and fill out that form. I was considering putting on a 3-hour requirement prior to the aircraft coming to the airport. And the big part of this is, as everybody knows, we're extremely limited on space out there. We have gotten calls from NetJets and FlexJets in regards to if we're going to be doing anything particular for that day. I don't know if they're actually going to have aircraft come towards us, but the simple fact that we're getting calls from those entities probably means they're getting things scheduled for that day. I've come up with some preliminary numbers for possible ramp fees for the special event due to the possible increased traffic. We're looking at possibly $75 for small single piston aircraft, $125 for medium to large piston aircraft or small turboprops, $250 for large turboprops, and then $300 across the board for jets. Now, I'm open to anybody's opinion on those numbers. Again, this is preliminary due to the possible increase in traffic we're expecting. I've heard from several communities down in Texas, Idabel, I believe it's McCurtain County Airport up in that area. They're anticipating a huge influx of people coming into their community for this event. Had some meetings with individuals, and I've gotten reports that, we've got possibly a couple hundred people from over in Europe coming down into our area for the event. So we're looking at ways to try to minimize a negative impact on the airport and maximize our space available. So with that, I'd like to see if anybody's got any kind of a recommendation or not a recommendation, but any kind of advice on what they think the direction we should go with the airport on this.
Well, how are you going to enforce the PPR? I mean, some people are just going to show up. They're not going to know that there's a PPR. I mean, even if you have it in a NOTAM, people are just going to show up. So what do you do then?
So in that instance, We'll probably try to utilize the south apron for those individuals, and if we don't, I had talked with several FAA individuals in Hearst as well. We'll probably explain to them that they can't stay at the airport, they've gotta relocate to another airport. If they need fuel, we'd be more than happy to provide them fuel, you know, items like that, maybe even possibly waive the ramp fee for those individuals coming in if they just straight up disregard the PPR, but we would advise them that we already have space leased out.
I don't think they're gonna disregard it, I just think they're not gonna know about it. I think if someone saw it, they would try to, you know, call, but they're just not gonna know about it. I mean, there's no doubt, it's gonna happen a lot.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
and
so-
I understand that, but, we're gonna look at trying to see if we can't do it about 2 weeks out from the event, start the PPR note them going, and then have that out a little bit so people can hopefully do their pre-flight checks and check the notes. And again, it's not gonna be perfect. We'll do the best we can to mitigate the impact to the airport, but. that's about
Legally,
we have.
what can you do if somebody lands?
I'm sorry, sir?
Legally, if somebody lands, what can you do if you don't have a PPR?
We can request that they leave the airport. We can, again, if they need fuel, that's fine, we have no problems getting them fuel, but we can request that they leave the airfield.
It's just we're not.
We'll try to be as diplomatic and as polite as we can, but I mean, if we got a reservation system out and we just have somebody
And it's
show
full-
up.
and it's full.
Just, sorry, we're full up, we've got these spaces limited to these other aircraft coming in.
Okay,
You're gonna have to go
if it's
somewhere
not
else.
full, just say, hey, if you stay, you gotta buy space.
Correct, yep.
You
We have
anticipate a
space available.
reservation system in place?
Yes, that's pretty much, that's kind of what the people.
That would make
kind of
sense.
Insinuates as a reservation system, if you will, yes, sir.
Okay.
And if we do get full up, then we just start explaining to people, sorry, we're out of space, we have no more space available at our airport, and we can give them numbers to GYI or Paris Field or, you know, or Paris or other locations.
So we're gonna park in the main apron, we're gonna park in the south apron. Where else would you go?
We'd probably use the backside of hangar 12, we'll push them back up against the grass right there on the backside. And then we've also got a small little section over, by just off of, Building 8, that little square section. A lot of Southeastern uses it as a run-up area, if you will. We've got some cones over there already. We've got that available that we can park some. Also too, the other aspect we're looking at is possibly right out there in front of the terminal, any of the lighter 150s, 172s, tail draggers, maybe putting them off of the grass over there.
Just like Oshkosh does, park them in the grass.
That's
That's
exactly
right.
it. That's
That's
probably
in-
what we'll do.
I would lean more towards maxing out whatever we can do to welcome them to our town than kick them out.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm just saying that in the instance somebody flies in, we're at capacity, we don't have any more room. I've run out of ground to put them on, you know, stuff like that. I am gonna reach out to, Choctaw Nation as well, see if we can use their ramp in front of their hangar if they're not gonna be flying that day as well, so.
I've been places, and you know, so I'm gonna be here 2 days, and they say, down there, roll it on the grass.
And that's what we're looking at. So, and part of that form that we're developing right now does have a spot on there where they can indicate their length of stay.
The only problem there is if it rains and wet.
That's the only issue I foresee there as well, yes. But as long as it's dry, we've got a lot of grass out there we can park aircraft on, so we can
don't wanna make
maximize.
somebody mad.
You could
Well,
put a
I
lot of
wouldn't want to.
aircraft.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to leave with a bad taste,
Yeah.
cause we wouldn't let them
And
fly.
that's exactly it.
So when you had that fly and you had 50 or 60 aircraft, how did that work out?
So we had them, thankfully, a lot of them were smaller aircraft.
Sure.
We had a couple of twins in there, but most were small. We were actually lining them up, right along the edge of the pavement, right there in front of the terminal, right next to the grass. We had some out on the grass. And then we just basically did stacks and just stacked them up, tail in, you know, just all the way down. Chase and Jacob and Zach were awesome that day. They were out there running that ramp, helping to move aircraft, push them in, everything else, keep folks clear of aircraft that were spinning up. They did a fantastic job that day running it. But yeah, yeah, we were able to free up a lot of space, but one thing that also helped us out that day is we had a lot of people coming in and going out. So we'd have some spots get freed up, we'd have an aircraft come in, taxi them in, and then we'd push them back into another spot. So we were doing a lot of hand moving of aircraft that day as well.
Hard, maybe you can answer this, Casey. It's hard for me to fathom if you can afford to lease a jet to fly for the eclipse. Aren't you gonna go somewhere where it's totality?
Yeah.
And that could
probably.
be anywhere from here to the Canadian border.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it surprises me that there's going to be a lot of traffic, honestly. But I've seen the billboards and stuff, welcoming people to Durant for that. But I mean, I've heard about it for a long time. But it surprises me that people are going to come here to do it. But that'd be good.
And that's part of why I'm wanting to put these steps in place in case we do get a lot of traffic. Because the other aspect that we need to take into consideration as well is if it's cloudy, say Ida Bell's completely cloud covered, nobody's gonna be able to watch the eclipse from there. Next thing you know, they're gonna migrate over towards us if we're clear. Or they're gonna migrate somewhere else that is clear, whereas where they originally are is cloudy. So that's the other thing. So if we're cloudy over here, we probably won't have anything to worry about. If we're clear and somebody else is cloudy, then we now have to consider that we might have an influx of people coming up to our area. We will also be talking with wastewater treatment plant out there about possibly locking that gate over off of Davis Road. If for any reason they can't have it locked, then we'll put some barricades up on that dirt road over there to prevent anybody from coming onto the east side of the airfield. I don't anticipate that being a major issue, but still, given the way things might be that day, I'd rather avoid any instance of somebody just randomly coming on the airfield and doing something they shouldn't do. It's just part of our security protocols.
So do you expect these people, they're going to fly in and they're going to stay at the airport and watch it? Is that what you're expecting, or?
That's a possibility. I mean, they may come in, try to get a courtesy card, go somewhere else. I don't fully know. Again, this is my first time ever dealing with something like this, so there's a lot of unknowns for me too, and that's one of the reasons why, I've been reaching out to Ida Bell, to, some other airports from the past solar eclipse that have had instances like this, and trying to get information from them, just trying to.
What do they say? I mean, they say it's going to have an influx of people, or?
So, I believe, Ida Bell is looking at a possible, they're hit or miss on who you talk to. If you talk to the airport staff, they're working on plans. If you talk to City Hall, well, we haven't really had much, but Alliance Nebraska, they had a solar eclipse over theirs, and they said they saw a lot of people coming there. They can't remember exact numbers. They've had a little bit of turnover in Alliance, so getting specifics out of that is really difficult. There's another
major
community.
influx of people.
Huh. That's
There's
awesome.
another community in Texas that's talking about, I mean, it's I think it was like 25,000 people's community size, and they're expecting
Yeah.
like 200,000 people to come into their area. There's schools that are talking about shutting down for the day because they're just expecting such an influx of people. I think we were just discussing about Ho Chi Town is expecting a massive influx of people that day as well for the solar eclipse. I've gotten word around here that there's some landowners around here that are leasing out 10 by 10 plots of land for $1,500 just to watch
Wow.
the solar eclipse, and people are paying.
I want to get in that.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I know, right?
wow.
Like,
We should do that at the airport. What are we doing?
Oh, you take this weekend.
Well, 32 acres up
Golly.
There you go. There is no rental car inventory in Durant. There's none. I mean,
Correct.
maybe a handful, and then that's it. So if they're coming to Durant trying to rent a car, they're not gonna go very far. So-
No, now we do get Hertz that'll deliver up here, and Go Rentals. I've reached out to Enterprise down at Sherman Dennis at GYI, but they pretty much said they're not interested in expanding to Durant for whatever reason. So I'm still hopefully trying to get somebody willing to,
But if there's a big influx of people at GYI or wherever, they're not gonna have time or inventory to come to Durant with rental cars,
right.
so.
But a lot of this is just trying to mitigate any massive overflow of traffic at the airport and ensure that we can still function as an airport, even if we do have an influx.
One of the things you mentioned, and I just thought of while you were talking, quite often I've seen Idabel socked in solid in beautiful sunshine here,
And vice versa though.
and vice versa.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This morning.
Huh?
This morning.
This morning?
Yeah.
So, I mean, people may be planning to go in and all of a sudden, so that may be contingency for you, is Idabel suddenly gets canceled and.
Is Idabel 100%?
Yes. I
Oh,
think so.
okay.
Yep.
Huh.
And I think they're one of the longest.
The center of it is 5 miles east of Idabel, basically.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I think they're one of the longest durations on the Eclipse too.
Durand is just right on the edge of the total. If you go down to the river bottom, it's.
So you'll be able to see some of the sun.
See just a very little.
Huh.
Yeah, like I said, I believe, we're about 99.8% coverage here for the solar eclipse, so.
Probably blue will be 100.
Huh.
So in the paper today, they talked about how people are gonna trickle in over many hours, and then as soon as it's over, they're all gonna try to leave within a few hours.
Right.
So we gotta think about both sides of this, right?
Yes.
They're all gonna try to get the heck out of here and go home.
Well.
It's a Monday, I think, is it not a
Correct,
Monday?
it is
So
a
you'll have
Monday.
a full staff and you can bring extras in if you need.
Yes, yep.
So-
Right now, we're looking at putting the PPR in, to have it effective from the 7th to the 8th, or to the 9th. That way,
What
if
day
anybody
is this?
tries coming in early, like Sunday early, we already have that to where we can do the reservations and have the ramp space for them. And then as they look at leaving out on the 8th, probably what we'll do is we'll actually be out there to try to marshal them out and help any traffic leaving out to keep deadlocks from occurring.
Isn't it 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something, middle of the afternoon?
Yeah.
So, it's somewhere around there. I've got the exact times of my office,
Two.
but it's.
I think 140.
I mean, it only happens for like a minute, right?
4
No,
minutes, 8
Idabel is gonna
minutes.
be like 4 or 5 minutes
Yeah.
long.
Huh.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think our location is 3. I'd have to look back at it again, but
You got like
it's gonna
an
be a
hour
couple
or two
minutes.
building up, and it slowly, and then.
The total eclipse is only gonna be a couple minutes long, the whole build-up for it's gonna be a little bit. And you're gonna have people out there watching it, and possibly have them out there with a picnic or something like that.
This is really hard to fathom that people are gonna do all this.
Yeah, oh, really? That's what I was thinking.
Considering
Like,
It starts in Texas, it goes all the way to
Years ago, I know
Canada.
a lot of people would travel up into Kansas to watch it.
Yeah. I know some folks that live in
So,
Nebraska.
and again, I'm not,
I remember, but I didn't know what happened.
so is the airport planning to purchase those glasses and hand it out to these people? Or, you know, they make like little paper
I'm
glasses.
trying to work on that right now, trying to see what we can do about making.
I would imagine
bringing
somebody
some
that's
Eclipse glasses.
chasing the eclipse would bring their
They're
own
gonna bring
glasses.
their own.
I'm
hope
pretty
so.
sure
You
everybody
fly
will.
in.
Yeah.
I mean, we might.
In some
see if I
places
can't
have already
buy,
sold out
like,
glasses.
a dozen or so,
Yeah.
just in case, but.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Y'all
that's-
put a food truck out there for a day or two?
I have not looked into that, no. Now, the day of the 8th, I am planning on also publishing a heavy traffic note, just, again, to be on the safe side, to try to mitigate any possible issues that can arise. from
We don't
this.
shut down for nothing.
I just trying to be ahead of the game here and take a few steps to
I'll work with
mitigate
Josh.
any negative impacts to the airport.
If we need to
That-
slow down for
That's kind of
Josh,
the
we
biggest
will.
thing with everything that I'm doing right now.
South Asian ramp available if needed.
I would prefer not for liability reasons, and we have weight limit restrictions on our ramp and things of that
So
nature.
it's probably gonna be the same thing at Choctaw, be my guess,
We require waivers to park on our ramp,
for anything.
anything other than Southeastern aircraft.
Well,
But it's ultimately obviously not my call, but that would be my.
So you're gonna be barricaded off or shut off somehow, all the people that
Well,
always go there?
honestly, Josh is ahead of me. In the past, we've put some cones out just to keep the people from wandering on our ramp, you know.
Right. But you get a bunch of out-of-towners that stop there anyway, thinking you're there.
We do, we periodically get somebody that doesn't read the sign, parks on our ramp and of course, the signage is not well as it is, and that's one of the things we're working on, some better signage that says FBO's that way, you know.
And you
But-
know, that was one thing I was wanting to talk with you and Mr. Gaffney about tomorrow, and kind of have a sit down with the school in regards to your operations that day. If you guys were wanting your ramp shut off, we could work on getting like some lighted barrels to put up over there or something.
I would,
Shut it off, but I
that,
mean,
I'm the flight operations manager, so that would be my, advice to the administration, is to shut our ramp off. And we've done it in the past with events and just with orange cones and barrels, you know, it's not that difficult.
well, we all know that, as you just said, I mean, we get a lot of people, transients coming in and
Yeah.
out that just,
We had somebody-
they come right off altitude, and they see all the planes and the shade hangers, and they just beeline straight
We've had
for
people
Southeastern.
fill
so-
up their gas tanks out there, and,
You've actually had to fill with gas.
a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
we get-
possibility? We can do that?
Is this on? But that's one of our initiatives, is some better signage out there anyway.
Yeah.
I can imagine, like I said, we just got back from the flight team competing at Oshkosh, and they had every plane out there wingtip to wingtip in the grass. They had it mowed real well, so you could pull in and pull out real easily, and they advised everybody to bring their own tie downs if you're parking in the grass, so.
Right.
I think you got a lot of potential out there to not turn people away, just to, with that big.
That's what I said, all the taxiway.
Yeah, you'd wanna mow it, I would think, several days, so we let it dry out,
Yep.
and make it mowed tight enough so people can pull their planes up, you know.
We're working right now on little changes and filter changes in our SCAGs, but once those are done, we're gonna get those out into that grass area that's between the terminal and the school.
You could use
and we're
chalk
gonna do a
lines
real-
to,
About 2 inch high off the ground
Mhm.
for the grass. We're gonna go out there and cut all that and get it prepped and everything, cause there is still some of the old pavement out there.
Mhm.
from
Where the old
some
T hangers used to be.
Old hangers and stuff, so we do have some solid area out there, it's just getting out to it that's
A lot of
the
planes.
questionable,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think, all in all, we probably could park a fairly good number of aircraft on that grass area. We just gotta be kinda careful with some of the dips, and the big concern is some of our drainage issues that we're having right now, so.
but if you notice, part of it was be prepared to park in the grass,
Mhm.
Bring your own tie downs.
When you do your PPR, you will know how many places you're gonna have on the paper.
Yes,
When
I'm
you
working
get
on a
your-
diagram right now,
When you
drawing
get
it
your-
up.
When you get your reservations filled up, tell people, says, look, now, we're full up on tarmac, they're gonna be on the grass.
Correct, yes, sir.
And let them know ahead of time.
Yep. No, yes, that is part of what we'll advise people as they come in, is,
Yeah,
okay,
well,
if you want
you're-
pavement, you're looking at
And
this.
if it's wet, it ain't gonna be nice.
Right, yep.
Is there a
Park above this.
way to get to the old runway on the other side?
Not that I would recommend for an aircraft, especially under its own power, because there's some pretty
Yeah.
significant dips out there, and you might end up at a prop strike before you get to the pavement, so I would not recommend. And in all honesty, trying to tow an aircraft over there, I wouldn't even take that risk on the airport side for it, cause that's just asking for the tug to rip a piece of the nose gear off or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, it just, that would cause more issues than it would resolve.
With the helicopters over there, sure.
If any show up, we absolutely could, and then just do a transport of them across the runway in one of our airport vehicles, that's absolutely an option.
That was my next question. If you're gonna park a bunch of folks at the south ramp, how are you gonna shuttle them around?
So we've got the work truck out there we can utilize, as well as our side-by-side, or, we can also pull our minivan over and use that to shuttle people back and forth.
And if all your employees are called in, how many people do you have working out there? Part-time, full-time, whatever?
It'd be myself, Jessica, she'd mainly be running the office, Chase, Jacob, and then I have 2 new workers that I'm hoping to start next week. So that'd give me 7 total employees.
You guys, 7 can probably handle this, can't they?
Yeah.
What you think?
There ain't gonna be no sick days Monday.
You might be able to get-
All hands on deck, it should be a
if
lot
needed.
of fun.
That's pretty much what it's gonna be, yes, sir.
If needed, some volunteers maybe from the college, the Women in Aviation again, and the
That would be
flight team.
fantastic for it, absolutely, but I was mainly focusing on airport staff because, again, I can't say that we're gonna have a huge influx. We've gotten some calls, we've gotten some questions asked, we've gotten some inquiries into the airport about that day. So I'm just trying to take the steps to ensure we're in a good spot if we do get that influx, that we're ready and able to take care of it. And that's the whole reason why we're starting this now.
Are other airports charging these ramp fees? That'd be the only concern that I had is why would I go to Durant if I could go to Grayson and they weren't charging me a ramp fee?
There's, let me see, did I know I wrote it down. Please tell me I wrote it down. I think I left it on my other notes. There is an airport that I have a note on to, that I was gonna reach out for. They're actually charging like twice what we're charging. Like their jet ramp fees were like $500-600 for jets.
Golly.
And it's a straight up just, you know, event fee that they're doing. I mean, it was over $100 for like 150s and 172s to park at that airport. But I've got that.
You gonna have a fuel?
Baxter County, that's where it is, Baxter County. GYI, I think it's got some increased
Must be in
grant rates
Texas.
too, if I remember correctly. So,
You gonna have a fuel purchase credit or waiver?
to drop the ramp fees.
Or is it gonna be too busy?
I've kind of been going back and forth on that one, just because if we do get the influx of people, it,
Might take a
You know,
while.
need to keep it in place, because that's gonna help to pay for everything going on that day. And that'll be some definite excessive wear and tear on our fuel vehicles and stuff like that.
Well, I'm assuming you'll be selling fuel.
That's my hope.
I'm like Casey, I don't wanna get too high on the ramp.
Yeah, so we go to McKinney a lot, we go to Austin a lot, and they have the Byron Nelson in McKinney, and then they have the race car deal in Austin. It always annoys me because we're not there for either of those, and we get screwed.
Right.
We're paying a ramp fee or a event fee, and it's $400 or $500, and we're there 3 times a week.
Right.
And so that's the only thing that I have, against those kind of ramp fees is because you as an operator remember that. There's nothing we can do about it, but
You
it's.
won't go back there for pleasure.
I mean, I go there because I have to,
Right,
but
you got a
it's
choice.
annoying whenever someone comes here all the time. Like, I mean, you have a lot of people that come to Durant all the time, right? And so what's going to happen is they're going to come to Durant and you're going to say, "Now that's $75," and they're going to be like, "I'm here all the time," and that's going to be a problem you have, I promise. And
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to ask some advice on, is because I was thinking about doing it to where if we know they're regular, because we know almost many of our regulars, we know them either by tail number or by name coming in. And so we can identify who's coming in as a regular. The one thing I was thinking was these increased ramp fees are event fees. So only those coming in for the event. So if they've made a reservation, they called for the PPR or filled out the form for the ramp, they're the ones that get charged. Now, if, say, one of our other base ones come out there and they're coming to stay the weekend and they're going to their lake house or wherever they're gonna go, we're not gonna charge them that fee.
yeah.
Because we know they come here all the time anyway. So it would be almost a based tenant at that point. We would not charge them the event fees.
I think that's how you should do it. Because that guy with the 150, he's here 4 days a week or something like that. The guy
Yes.
that flies in to go to the casino, he's probably going to be here no matter. But knowing him, he's going to come in and you're going to try to hit him for $75. You'd be like, "Why are you charging me $75? I come here 4 times a week." And so
The increased ramp fee, the increased fees were to be strictly for the event only. So those that make, call in on the PPR or fill out the form, those would be the ones that would be paying that ramp fee. It would not be for that gentleman that comes in and out of here, some of our other based, or, regulars that come in and out a lot, that they would be the ones
I think that's
paying that fee.
reasonable.
How early will you run that PPR? We'll be on there a week before?
I was looking at 2 weeks before.
2 weeks prior.
Publishing it 2 to 3 weeks prior. Give enough time that people can get on there. And then we've also got to make some calls to NetJets and FlexJets dispatch. and advise them of what we're doing, because they were asking as soon as we figured out what we were doing at our airport to let them know. So we'll be making calls to them as well. So, and again, one of the big frustrations that I have with our airport is not knowing what types of aircraft are coming in. So I'm trying to do a layout marking in case we get large jets coming in, where we're gonna put them, how we're gonna maneuver things, and then the small aircraft, so.
I think it would be cool if you ran out of space. That would surprise me, but I
Good
think it would be
fuel cells that
cool.
weekend.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic if we did, but I think this is an awesome event that we are able to be a part of, and again, for me, this is a first time ever having to deal with anything like this, so it's been a whole new learning experience. So.
That goes for all of us. None of us have seen this before.
Anything else on his report?
I did just want to mention really quick that during that Southwest Partnership Conference that I went to, we actually got some fantastic news from our ADO and our program manager. FAA has actually made the decision that they are going to help participate with some discretionary funding for our ramp expansion in 2027.
Wow.
So not only now are we getting state participation in that, but we're also getting federal dollars now added on, which could inevitably drop the city's match portion for that ramp expansion. So nearly $4 million project is going to have federal and hopefully state funds in it.
Is that the grassy area we were talking
That's
about?
going in the grassy area towards college, yes, sir. Yep, so we're gonna have 14,000 square yards added on of pavement to that side, and then we're looking at another 6,000 square yards up by where the AWAS currently is. We're gonna flatten out that area and kind of put a little taxi lane in there, on the ramp to help aircraft move around and stuff like that. So that's gonna be almost about 20,000 square yards.
And you're saying yards,
pavement.
yards, not
Yards.
feet.
Not feet, square
Wow.
yards, yes, sir.
Huh.
So. And that's per the layout diagram that I've gotten from KSA, so.
That'll be great.
That it?
That's all I got for you gentlemen,
Anything
unless y'all
else?
got anything for me.
I was very
Anything?
impressed with that Airplanes and Coffee event. I hope that happens again.
They wanna come back there, they actually are excited to continue working with us. They think this could be one of their biggest events in Oklahoma. And also too, part of that is I put in here, there was a, production company out there, they run a, paid TV program, kinda like, I don't know if many are familiar with, but like Vet TV or, Pluto or something like that. Basically, you buy a subscription to it, and it's different programs. Well, it's a strictly aviation-related programming streaming service. And our Airplanes and Coffee event is actually gonna be their pilot episode for the Airplanes and Coffee miniseries that they're publishing on this station.
That's cool.
How many people showed up?
I would guesstimate a couple hundred people showed up between, pilots coming in with their families and friends and passengers and stuff, and then the general public showing up out there. We, had the Girl Scouts out there, selling boxes of candy or cookies. We had Women in Aviation out there. I believe they had a lot of traffic on their end as well, selling some merchandise, stuff like that. And it was a decent event. The wind really inhibited a lot of people coming in. Like they had Airplanes and Coffee had a lot of people cancel on them on their Facebook page due to the wind. If we didn't have the wind, I guarantee you we probably would have been having a solar eclipse event early, because we would have been fighting for space on that ramp.
Really?
I think there was over 500 people that said they were interested in coming to the event, and he said normally about a quarter to a half of those numbers actually show up. So we were possibly looking over 100 showing up, and I mean 50 to 60 airplanes showing up was not a bad day for us. Most all of them took fuel. It was a great day. It was a huge event, and I think when they come back, we can make it even better.
College, were you there?
I walked in and out a little bit, but we had Southeastern students volunteering, and Josh was really gracious in letting them do a few things out there and set up some tables, and we put an airplane on display, so.
And Mr. Gaffney came out, tried to give a presentation, but nobody really wanted to go into it. Everybody just was out enjoying the coffee and the donuts and chatting, so.
And they left by 1 o'clock, or what time was it over?
I'd say about 1 o'clock, everybody was pretty much filed out of there. It took us about another 30, 45 minutes to clean everything up, get the terminal back organized, and then I cut the staff loose, but.
Terminal do okay with that kind of crap?
It actually did better than I anticipated.
It was
Restrooms-
packed, though.
Restrooms kept up and all that?
Oh, yeah, restrooms kept up, absolutely, yep. It was a very, very good day, very fun event. And
Good trial run for the Eclipse.
yes, and next time we look at doing this, we'll probably look at getting some porta johns out there because we'll actually have it outside. This time we had it inside because of the wind and the cold and, stuff like that, so we had everything inside. But next time we'll have everything hopefully be able to be set up outside with the warmer weather and things.
So do you think that's something that you should be looking into for the Eclipse, Porta Johns?
That's probably a very, yes.
Yeah, all right.
Duh.
Again, like I said, I'm still figuring all this out. too,
Yeah.
and we're trying to
If
get
you
everything-
start having a good response on the PPRs, I probably,
Yeah, that's probably a great point.
I mean, they're gonna sit there essentially in the terminal is kind of what you're thinking, right?
Either that or possibly it may have people come in that know people here in Durant that get rides.
The top
and
floor of
go
the garage,
somewhere
or the
for-
parking lot at the
Or
casino.
go across
Yeah.
the park and go to the
Yeah.
casino, they may want a shuttle ride over there, have
Mhm.
some drinks before it starts and then step
Yeah.
outside. I mean, again, I don't know how I'm anticipating a lot of people hanging around the terminal. I'm also kind of anticipating a lot of people taking off to go to other
Choctaw.
places in town for drinks or food. They might arrive early, go get some lunch, and then maybe come back to watch it and then leave. I'm just, it's kind of spitballing everything. I'm
Who
throwing darts
knows,
at the
yeah.
wall and seeing what sticks.
No, I mean the PPR will make it to where you at least have
Mhm.
noticed that some people are coming.
Right.
I mean, if you don't get any PPRs, then you know that it's probably not going to be a ton of people. I would
Right.
assume.
Yep.
Any way we can get previous year, like February 23 sales for a comparison standpoint on these?
Absolutely, yes. I will.
Might mean more, plus or
Yeah.
minus.
Yep, absolutely. I'll get those done and get them over to you.
That's okay, just do it next month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
okey-dokey. Anything else for Josh?
Do we have any open hangers?
Not at this moment, no.
Everything's full.
Everything's full.
Waiting list?
Waiting list, about 18 people right now.
Josh, I think that's all they got for you. Administration, anything made there?
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. New business? If there's no new business.
I just got a quick question. At the last meeting, you talked about the hangar for the helicopter bunch. Can you give us an update on where that stands?
For Aerovac?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, so, the loan was approved for that, and the project was approved. We got the scope and feedback for the design of it, which is what, Aerovac's gonna pay. That came back about $199,000. Now, Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission their commission met today with a proposal to help us in covering some of that cost, out of state funds through the hangar grant program. I believe that's 40%, so they'll be paying $79,000 if it gets approved. We're just waiting to hear back from the commission right now on if it got approved. That would also equate over to the actual hangar build on that as well. So if we get OAC participation in the hangar build, then that $900,000 from DIA won't all go towards the hangar. There'll be a portion that the airport will pay back to to DIA, because because the state's helping to cover part of that.
So
I
you
believe it's
you
40%.
said the state 40%,
Well, through
But
the
the-
Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission.
but then you said 79,000. So 40% is 400,000.
No, of the design, the scope and fee.
Okay.
So it's broken, I'm sorry, I misspoke on that one. So it's broken down into two sets. You got the hangar build, which is one amount, and then you got the scope and fee for the design and everything else. Now, Airvac stated they're gonna kick in $200,000 towards this building. That covers the design and the design and the scope and fee for KSA to do it.
Okay.
So to build a hangar, it's $107,000 design fee to build a hangar?
For the Airvac one, yes, sir. And a majority of that actually came from the architect firm that, Airvac's wanting to use. Because this is the same firm that designed their hangar in Ardmore.
So that money from the state is going to kick in for Air Evac's part,
No, it's gonna kick in for the airport's part.
but the airport's not paying any of that. Air
Right,
Evac
so-
is.
Right, so the money that DIA sent in, okay. So yes, it'll kick in to pay the scope and fee cost for Air Evac. That means that extra amount that isn't put
Will
towards it.
go
will
to the airport.
towards the
Okay.
construction.
No matter, Air Evac is paying 200K.
Correct.
Okay.
That doesn't matter. And then what this also does is if we get approval on it, the commission votes to approve it, we get accepted into the grant program with the hangar build. The OAC is gonna match 40, or is gonna kick in 40% of that build cost. So that, in essence, gives us a little bit more money too, if you will, because if it's a little bit higher due to the road extension, utility extensions, whatever, if we go a little over that 900,000, that OAC fund's gonna kick in, which will cover that extra. So what that means is at the end of the time, DIA is gonna have paid 60% of that bill. OAC is gonna pay 40%. And that 40% that wasn't used basically goes back to DIA. And then a portion of the monthly hangar rent will actually come to the airport instead of going fully towards the DIA to repay that loan. Did that make sense?
That made sense, yeah.
Okay.
And this will give us the terminal building back?
Yes,
That
the
they're,
full terminal building will be back, yes.
Plus the
You know,
hangar.
I have businesses all over Oklahoma, and I notice a lot of those helicopters are sitting at the hospitals. So I asked our CEO of the hospital, did anybody approach you about parking a helicopter out there and providing a crash pad and making them part of you? And he said, no, but we would love to do that.
Yeah.
This whole project just makes me scratch my head, just to be frank. And of course, I've been on this board, I don't know, a year, maybe. Heard it last month for the first time. The whole thing, it seemed like I don't know. I don't know if it makes any sense to me. The current situation certainly doesn't make any sense, right? We gave up half of our beautiful FBO for a crash pad, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my arms around this project for 3 people to put a helicopter in when there may be some other options that don't cost near as much money.
So,
You know, the hospital's got 2 empty buildings. When I asked him that question, he said, I got plenty of space that I can reconfigure for a crash pad. We'll build a new ramp out there for a second helicopter. We'd love to have them. That doesn't mean that's gonna happen, but he
Right.
certainly didn't say, oh, heck no.
I didn't know that Airvac hadn't approached them. That was never in, we've been working on this probably going on 2 years now with Airvac. And the biggest thing about it is right now, they can't do 24-hour operations. They can only do 12 hours.
Why?
Because they can't have people staying in the terminal long-term. Because of the way the bond that was used to build the terminal. And that's part of the reason why we're trying to work on getting this hangar built, is to get them out of the terminal and into this building. They can then go 24 hours, which means they can hire on additional crews. There's also the possibility, because we've had a few talks now and then about them possibly bringing in a second helicopter for this base. And they stay busy enough right now as a 12-hour operation that they've actually beat out a lot of 24-hour operations with their operations out of the airport. The other aspect is this will turn around and give the airport another viable asset after the 15-year contract is up with Airvac. That building it basically belongs to the airport once we build it. And then if Aerovac decides to leave early, now the airport has a asset we can then lease out.
Who's gonna pay for that if they leave it 5 years?
If they leave in 5 years, in their contract, they have a, early, fine that they have to pay if they break the contract before 15
Has
years.
anyone on this board seen that document?
I do not know that, sir.
When it gets back to, I've been here for a year, and I heard about it last month, and it's been going on for 2 years. There's a lot of question marks.
What
It
what
looks
is the
like it-
out?
I kinda came in on this after John left, and so I apologize in my lack of not bringing it before the board, but I had figured he'd already brought it to the board and had discussed things.
I mean, if the cities, if they leave out, you said, I think if I remember right, you said there was 2 5-year terms? Is what you recalled?
On their lease.
Yeah.
On the,
They don't have we're not putting them on a 15-year lease, or are we putting on a 15-year lease?
the contract I read was for 15 years, but I can get it and send it out to all the members.
So
of the
my
board.
question would be, if they get out, if they want out, need out, or whatever, then the city's gonna have to pay the bill, I'm assuming.
No.
Someone's gotta pay the DIA
No,
back.
it would be, Aerovac would pay the difference on what was still owed on the loan.
Okay, I'd like to see that document, that'd be
Yes,
interesting.
sir, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, that's a great deal for the city. But I would be surprised if it was that way, because essentially there's no out for Air Evac besides paying,
Correct,
which
yeah.
would make sense for the city, but it
No,
wouldn't really
there
make.
There is a fine in there, and if I remember correctly, I do believe it is the amount that is owed on the loan should they decide to leave before that 15 years.
So no matter the airport, if that is the case, the airport is never going to be out money
Correct.
because of that.
We're technically not gonna be out money building this hangar because it's not even airport funds. It's a loan from the Grant Industrial Authority to the airport authority. And if it falls through and they decide not to build, that loan goes back to DIA, no harm, no foul. If they do build and then they decide, okay, we're no longer gonna be here, we're gonna cut out, then they owe back to DIA, or technically the airport authority, what was owed, and then that turns around and gets paid to the Grant Industrial Authority.
That must be an interesting document. I'd like to see.
Yes, absolutely, we can get it together and we'll get it emailed out to all the board members, absolutely.
That's part of our role as advisory members.
Yes,
is
sir.
To advise.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to advise, we don't know much about it.
And he just said we're gonna sort it out.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I want to feel like we're doing what we're asked to do, right?
Yep.
So you can report to the council on what we decided, or what we recommend, if that makes sense.
And as far as when Aerovac was brought in, again, I was the ops manager at the time, and I was trying to keep up with what exactly was going on too.
Would you have a file full of stuff in the airport on this project?
I've got the lease that was originally done for them leasing out the space on the terminal and the hangar. I've got what the airport paid for the improvements to the terminal and the hangar, and what Aerovac paid in regards to terminal and hangar. Because we did the conversion on the bathroom to put in a shower and a washer dryer unit in there.
Is that the private bathroom at the south end? Or the
Yes.
public bathroom at the south end?
Correct, yes. So one of the bathrooms is still there, but the other one's now a shower, and it's got a stackable washer dryer on it. And then also too, the city paid to have the garage door installed in that hangar, and then Aerovac paid for the heater on it and the insulation that was sprayed inside of it. And then we had Public Works do the ramp that goes up into the hangar at that garage door. So, but yeah, no, I'll get that information together, and I'll get it out to all the members of the board, so you guys can review it and see, and it'll also allow me to refresh my memory on exactly what the payback terms were.
Well, don't let it be said that they're not a valuable part of our community, right? We're glad they're here.
Yes, sir.
So,
It's also a viable asset for the airport too, because one reason why we like having them at the airport is because when this new hangar goes in, they're gonna put in a 500-gallon fuel tank over by their hangar, to where they'll fuel their helicopter when they get back. It'll be on a trailer and whatnot, it's not gonna actually be installed in the ground. And then we'll go over and fill it up as needed for the gallon. But it's going to help eliminate any possible call-outs that might occur. Now, if they build at the hospital or they build somewhere else, then whenever they come to the airport for fuel, now we're looking at call-out fees.
So-
And-
So
Or
the
call-outs and
communities that I
overtime.
referenced earlier have fuel trucks at the hospitals for those guys. I've been out there and looked at it, so.
Oh, I didn't know that, I just,
They've
Okay.
got combinations for all that. And
Okay.
Alliance Health is one of them in Park City, it's got a helicopter sitting right on the corner of the property.
okay.
They're not in Durant anymore because they sold out, but they certainly, have crash pads and everything out there on premises.
So they're gonna get a fuel tank, but we're gonna be filling it.
Correct. We're the sole fueler for Area Vac unless they have to get fuel on the road. If they don't have to, then we do all their fueling.
Good.
So how, I know a little bit about that fueling, how are you gonna make sure that they don't in-run you, like, and not buy the fuel? I mean, you built them a hangar, and, they put you a fuel tank out there, how do you make sure that they buy the fuel from you?
Because when we're done charging the tank, we come back and we cash it out at that amount.
Okay,
So it's not gonna be like they're gonna purchase X amount of gallons a year or anything like that. It's gonna be as we fuel their tank, then we charge the card that's gonna be on file for them at that time. Just like if we were to go to, a jet out at the airport and fuel it, or anything like that, or USDA when they come out with their fuel tank for their helicopter. They get a top off on the fuel, sometimes it's a couple hundred gallons. They come in the terminal, we cash them out, they pay right then and there. That's how it'll be with Area Vac too.
Is that the hog shooters?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much fuel is Airback buying today? Just a rough estimate.
We're probably at least a couple thousand gallons. I mean, they're doing anywhere from 35 to 65 gallons a pop when they're coming back from calls. They try to do everything they can to do all their fueling at our airport.
They fly every day?
Say again?
Do they fly every day?
Every day as weather permits. Yesterday, I think they went out, 3-4 times, something like that. Sometimes they go out late, they go out at 6 o'clock and they don't get back till the next morning because they time out at another location. And so they can't get back to the airport because they're only 12-hour shift. They're only on a 12-hour shift.
so you said 2,500 gallons a month, is that what you said? That they buy?
No, not a month. I mean, was that what you asked for the month?
Yeah, it's just a
Curious
guesstimate what they
Oh,
buy.
oh.
Just curious what they're buying now.
I could get you those numbers and send them out in an email. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
You can't guess.
It's
Is it daily?
probably, it's daily, yeah, pretty much daily.
Full service? Are we making them a deal?
They're using a Titan card, so they're getting a 20-cent discount with Titan contract. So,
Is that what you guys get?
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
I need to get one of those.
Yeah, we got the forms in the terminal there, come on by, we'll get you one filled out. So,
So it's actually not as easy as,
I don't-
so it's really a janky deal because you use your this Titan card and you get a bill that says $0 on it. It says you bought 200 gallons and it says $0, which is not right. So then you have to go back later on and figure out what the cost per gallon was. But I mean,
We
you're saving
provide
20
that
cents.
information.
Yeah, I knew. I knew you were, but you know, to save 20 cents, it's a lot of paperwork on the back end.
now, that's also per Titan's point-of-sale system that we have to use. So, we are coming up to the end of the contract. I think we got another year or so, something like that, on the contract with Titan. Then we're gonna go out for a request for qualifications, and try to get maybe another fuel company to come in, or if we renew with Titan, we'll try to see if we can change some things in their point-of-sale system to try to fix some of that. But a lot of that's on Titan's side. It's just nothing we ourselves have control over. But again, there's a possibility there could be a change coming in the future. We might go with another fuel company.
I actually bought self-serve fuel yesterday, and your fuel gun's got a terrible leak, you know, at the top, where the nozzle
Oh,
attaches
yeah.
to the gun itself, it leaks terribly.
Really?
I'm glad you actually brought that up too. So I got self-fuel the other day, and it needs something on the knuckle, because you're holding this thing and it's laying on a low wing. It's laying on your wing. So it doesn't have like a rubber over this.
Are you talking the dust cover?
It has a dust cover, but then below that there is the coupler where it screws together. Well,
Right.
that's metal, and that's the part that whenever you're putting it on your wing, it's sitting there on your wing. At least in my, so I'm sitting there holding that
Oh,
from.
the breakaway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Is
Yeah,
it?
that
I
was-
didn't know it was a breakaway, but
So that was something that OCC forced the airport to have installed because they consider it retail gas like a gas station. So they made the airport get that installed, because in case somebody decides to get in their plane and try to taxi away with the fuel nozzle still in it, it breaks away and doesn't rip the nose out.
But I didn't know if there was like a
That's the
rubber,
reason
like if you could get a rubber piece that was this long to
Okay.
go over that. Because,
Okay.
I mean, I'm sitting there having to hold this thing so it doesn't sit on the wing. And
probably happened.
with the leak that he's talking about, it's actually coming out of, so that there's a nozzle about like this, you know, a foot long. Or,
Yeah.
well, it's coming at the top of that.
Right.
So
Okay.
what it's doing is squirting down the outside of this nozzle.
Okay.
It washes all the dirt off after the
Yeah.
10 seconds, but it's,
Would the OCC have any issues with that tank on a trailer that you're referring to?
So as long as it meets, NFPA 407 standards, which is proper markings, making sure it's grounded properly, you know, it's got all the
Anti-leak or?
anti-leaks, the emergency shut-off, stuff like that, no, they wouldn't have an issue with it. There's
So this
a
isn't
lot-
gonna be just a simple agricultural tank out there with a?
Correct. Yeah, it's actually gonna meet all the requirements. It's gonna be labeled properly. It's gonna have all the bells and whistles that it needs. Absolutely, yeah.
they're gonna own that.
Correct. No, that's gonna be purchased by ARIVAC for their use. So, yes.
Anything else?
We put Josh to the task today.
I like it.
Administration or new business? If nothing, I'm open for a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Motion,
I'll second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, we're adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Josh.